not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
You're fired!
Rachel Zegler has finally been fired, and it's not from the movie you're thinking about. Of course, we heard crazy rumors about her being fired from Snow White, but don't believe any of those rumors. Disney has invested over $209 million into Snow White, and that's even before post-production, CGI, and everything else related to that. So this is a movie that's going to cost well over $300 million. So I say doubt any rumor that is saying that she is being fired from Disney's Snow White live action. They invested too much into this project, so that's not going to happen. But she is being fired from other projects, and I'm guessing it may be related to the backlash from the general audience to adjusting the overall framework of how Snow White is portrayed in the film. Of course, this is not all her fault. This is the directors and the production of Disney changing Snow White, but she is the one quoted champion this change in Snow White, and the backlash she's getting from the fans is purely directed at her. I think that is a sad situation, and this is resulting in Paddington 3, the popular live action animated bear that has kind of swept the nation. Everyone loves the first two movies. Paddington 2 being obviously cheered and championed as one of the best movies that have come out in recent history, which is shocking in and of itself. But if you do see it, it's pretty wholesome, kind, and funny, family oriented, and people just enjoy that type of movies. Paddington 3 is a highly anticipated movie that Rachel Zegler was cast in, and of course they backed away from her this summer. They cast her in June and they dropped her in September, and I guess the Screen Actors Guild strike happened in June, so they had time to mull over if they should focus on her, and they dropped her. And I think it may be something completely unrelated to her exactly, but it is bad timing for her to be dropped and basically fired from this project as it continues forward and completes its filming. And I think this may be a case of that the Screen Actors Guild strike is happening at the same time, and maybe they had some extraneous shots that they needed to film that included her, but they thought it was easier to just drop her from the film completely and recast her. And that tells me this is a big step they're taking. I'm curious who they're recasting during a Screen Actors Guild strike, and maybe they're going for non-union workers, and that's an interesting prospect with this firing of Rachel Zegler. And it's just an overall big hit to her career. Of course, she's been cast in Snow White, and she's been controversial for her statements in Snow White. People constantly just attacking her for it, and rightly so, because she's just overall denigrating what people see in Snow White. So it's kind of shocking to see studios make a quick reaction to the public outcry against an actress. And of course, Paddington 2 is a really popular franchise, and I think that would have benefited her career in a way to be attached to such a franchise that is getting heralded as something that is an achievement in filmmaking. Regardless of what you think, it is something people are excited to see, and to be included in that franchise would be a big improvement to her overall career. So this is definitely a big hit to her, I think, for the most part. I'm wondering what are the details that have led to the firing. Of course, I just offered my speculation. I think it's just timing, maybe, or maybe they're actually reacting to what she did in the media in relation to her promoting Snow White in such a bad way, and they want to avoid that situation entirely, which I think is a smart move in and of itself, because Paddington is just a very simple family-oriented film. It doesn't need all the politics. It doesn't need her promoting the film, and I think that is a smart way to go about the casting situation. And if they're working with non-union workers, that would be interesting in and of itself, but I highly doubt that. You would have heard people picketing wherever Paddington is produced. I think it's a Sony production, unsure, but you would hear the people protesting them, so I doubt that's the case. But let's go back to the article. I'll give you my thoughts on what may be happening with this, and I'm interested because she has another movie coming out, Hunger Games, and I think that is the movie she can use to bounce back from this controversy. It's a brand in of itself. It has a solid fan base that won't care about the controversy. They're just there to see Hunger Games, and the Screen Actors Guild strike is probably working in her favor, where she can't say anything stupid anymore. She's not going to be interviewed by anyone in particular. People are not going to ask her questions, and this movie can quietly quietly go to success. And I think that is a smart move for the company not to put her out into promotion. Even if the Screen Actors Guild strike ends, you just get her out of the way. She's going to say something stupid if you allow her to talk. And I think that is something to her advantage right now, where this film may be a big success for her because she's not allowed to talk. And I think it's ironic that is the case, where her not speaking is leading to the benefit of her career, which I think is a good thing. I don't want her to lose all her jobs over some simply misspeaking about a cartoon animation. So hopefully things get better for her afterwards, but rightfully so. Snow White deserves to fail for ignoring people's overall objections over their changes of the foundation of the story, and I think that is a well-deserved failure in her record books, alongside with West Side Story, which is just in general just Steven Spielberg kind of following a childhood fantasy of directing West Side Story. So I think for her, just getting those two bombs out of the way and maybe just focusing on Hunger Games and just choosing different projects that may help her career is just good enough for her. So let's read the story. I'll give you my thoughts on what may be happening with Rachel Zegler, and I'll give you my perspective. Here we go. A new rumor claims that Rachel Zegler has been recast in the upcoming Paddington film, believed to be titled Paddington in Peru. Okay, that sounds interesting. Paddington is always an interesting franchise to me. It's always doing something out of the box, and it captures your attention. The new rumor comes from scooper Daniel RPK, who writes on X, Paddington 3 wraps filming in 2 weeks, and Rachel Zegler was recast due to strikes. Paddington 3 wraps up filming in 2 weeks. Okay, that is interesting. I guess she was only going to have a small minor part that they didn't really need. Maybe they just X that entire part out. And if Paddington is in Peru, maybe just it's purely digital and they're dealing with actors in Peru. So maybe that is the case where they just didn't really need her. I think that's more of a simpler explanation, and it makes sense. But I think if her star was rising to such a degree, I think they would hold off kicking her off the film or just firing her from the film. But since her star is waning a little bit, maybe they thought it was just easier just to get her out of the way, and they can just focus on finishing the film and just sending it out in or whatever year it's projected to be released. Zegler was announced to be a part of the film back in June, with Variety reporting Olivia Colman, Antonio Banderas, Rachel Zegler, Emily Mortimer are in talks to join the cast of Paddington in Peru, the third opus of the beloved Bear's adventures. The actress was expected to play a character named Gina, who's the daughter of Banderas, Hunter Cabot, described by the outlet as a dashing and intrepid riverboat captain. The film is expected to see Paddington journey to Peru to visit his Aunt Lucy and embark on a journey through the Amazon rainforest, and to the top of the Andes mountain with the Brown family. Okay, sounds like an interesting story. I just like how they're doing so much new things with Paddington. They always experiment. Of course, Paddington 2, he was in prison. That's just out of the box and crazy. And now he's in Peru journeying through the rainforest. It's always nice to see Paddington. More excited for this. Hopefully, Rachel Zegler kind of keeps her chin up. I don't want her to lose her job and just her entire career. But rightfully so, Snow White should fail miserably and be a box office bomb. I am rooting for that, because I think when you change up the source material, you deserve to fail. And unfortunately for her, film deserves to fail. But I hope Hunger Games is a big success for her. I think it will be to a certain extent, and I think for her, she'll be able to bounce back as long as she stops talking like an idiot. I think she'll be fine, but who knows, maybe she won't be able to stop talking like an idiot. That might be in her nature. If she does, that's her fault. Good luck to her. But tell me what you think. Do you think she is fired from Paddington 3? I think probably it stands to reason that it makes sense that they recast her because of the Screen Actors Guild strikes, but it could be just a cover of just firing her because they just don't want that type of energy during the press tour and people asking questions about her and Snow White. I can understand that situation. Tell me what you think. Which side do you sit on? Do you think she was fired? Do you think she's just recast because of the strike? Leave a like, share, comment, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.